you're just plainly helping out,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily offering service to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas.
Not necessarily. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think this, it depends also where you're helping out and what you're doing. Because if you do something for an holy object, by the power of that holy object, you create some extra merit. So or by the power of helping, because we have these certain fields that are strong objects. So like our parents, the poor and needy, the three jewels. So, the three jewels because of their realization, the poor and needy because of their need, our parents because of their kindness. So helping any of those three fields creates more virtue than just like doing it for ourselves or doing it for other people. So even if you don't have the intention of I'm serving sentient beings when you, or I'm serving the three jewels when you're helping your parents, even you don't have that, you're still creating more merit because of your parents being a powerful object. And so similarly, people who come here and offer service at the Abbey, I think because we're a Dharma organization that's, exists because we want to benefit sentient beings and spread the Dharma, then it creates more merit than, gardening kind of any other place, for example. Okay? But if you want to even increase the merit more, because remember we were talking about different things that make an action weak or strong. One is the motivation that you touched on. One is the power of the object, But if you have both of those together, yeah. Okay? Does that answer your question okay?
Yeah, finally my conclusion is that there are levels, like it's still a virtuous action. I mean, this is what's in my mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just helping Joe Blow with no motivation is still a good action thing, but then there are different levels.
Exactly.
But then which of those is serving the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas? Oh, well, that's just a metaphor.
Well, I think, in one way, from one point of view, they're all serving the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas because we're serving sentient beings. But for us to accumulate that karma, kind of a super karma, then I think it's better if we have that intention that we're also serving the three jewels. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I'm wondering if they call it pure view, you're trying to see everything as pure land, and all your assembly, particularly with all this voice.
Right. Uh-huh.
So, is this, to me, when I first was introduced to that, it seemed like another search for utopia. Kind of illusory thing, but I was thinking when you were talking, I've been thinking about this week, is that seems like if your motivation was more like what you're saying today, is raise everybody up.
Yeah.
That would be like the motivation for doing that.
Yeah.
To make your mind more vast and to raise
Everybody up. Okay, so you're asking about pure view and seeing the environment as a pure land and sentient beings as Buddhas. And so yes, in one way, that raises all the sentient beings up to the level of being a Buddha. So then it becomes easier to make, do things for them and behave nicely and everything else. Yeah? And the pure view also, it's an antidote that helps us not get angry and upset. Yeah? Because if a Buddha, somebody you knew was a Buddha, kind of left the mess on the floor, you probably wouldn't get as upset.
That's the motivation. What's the proper motivation to want to adopt that as a practice?
Adopt pure view. You do that as part of tantric practice, and I think you do it in order to create merit, one, in order to prevent afflictions from arising too, and in order to familiarize yourself with the view of emptiness. Yeah. Uh-huh.
You said to create merit, so I'm the side of increasing the power of the action, the virtuous action, by depending on what the object is, like you said, bodhisattvas, your parents, more needy. So if you see someone as a Buddha and Bodhisattva, when you act towards them and do a virtuous action towards them, does that increase the power, or does that person actually have to be a Buddha and Bodhisattva?
Well, I think,
yeah,
I think this is fitting in with her question, you know.
Well, I was thinking of it actually in reference to the poor and needy. So, I mean, if we're at a Dharma center and people don't want to go wash the dishes, I mean, if I set my mind like, well, these people are poor and needy, not that they don't have money, but they, are going to suffer because they don't want to do this, and they have negative mind states, and so I'd be helping them in that way.
Right, okay.
Is that changing them into an object of more virtuous?
I don't think that's changing them so much into an object as changing yourself. Let me repeat the question. You're saying, like, if you're in a Dharma center and you're with a bunch of people and they don't want to clean up after themselves, if you saw them as people who were poor and needy and cleaned up after them, in that way, would that make it a more powerful object, So I don't think you're changing them so much into poor and needy, as much as you're changing your own mind, and in that way creating more merit because you're changing your mind. But also, in one way, they are poor and needy because if they don't see the value of doing simple actions of kindness to others, or if they expect other people to clean up after themselves, then they are very poor and needy in a mental way, even though they might be quite rich in a physical way.
So bringing our mind to that aspect of it, that kind of set that portion of it, them being the object of making the virtues.
Yeah, I don't know if you change them into the object so much, but you're changing your mind, making your mind into a virtuous mind. Let me give you an example, okay? I spent a great deal of time once when I lived in a monastery going into the kitchen and people their filthy cup is sitting in the sink, and then their dirty dishes sitting in the sink, and then, it's just they drink and use something and put it there and expect somebody else to clean it up. And I would get really ticked off, it's like, because I like living in a clean place, and I want to be able to go in and do my thing and not spend a half an hour cleaning up after somebody. So I would get angry. And of course, if you hear enough teachings, you realize when you're angry that that's not a virtuous state of mind and you're creating negative karma. It's like, at some point that dawns on you, And so then then I always knew, I didn't have the right idea, but I had a hard time changing it. Then some years later, I was staying with somebody who did that exact same thing, and I just said to myself, now I am going to clean up after her, and this is my purification for having so much anger when I cleaned up after other people. Yeah, and so I just had that intention in my mind that, I created negative karma, even though I was cleaning up after them. I was, years ago, doing it with anger, that I need to purify that. And so now this is my chance to do it. Yeah, and so I'm offering service to the Sangha, and I did it like that.